Hello, and welcome to episode 61 of Expertise is Overrated, the podcast that takes the time to answer the questions you didn't know you didn't want the answers to. I'm Sean.
And I'm Vib, and neither of us has any clue what we're talking about.
I love how we have our intro, which we basically nail every time, and then there's just a beat of silence.
I was just thinking that.
Neither of us wants to pick up the reins and run with something.
It's like we should almost agree as to who then has the next saying things.
Surely it's the person who
just says
talks first.
Mm.
So you got neither of us has any clue what we're talking about, and then the other person jumps in with a well, actually.
That's great. I love it.
We
should do that from now on.
What a way to turn people off us even more. I actually have a note from last time though. All I've written down is Nemesis Uriel, and I can't for the life of me, because surely no one was stupid enough to suggest that Uriel is infected.
Was that my point? No, that wasn't my point. What was my point about Uriel? Did I say that Uriel was Nemesis infected? I think I might have done, actually. Oh, fuck, did I?
Because I think I remember suggesting that Uriel works with the Fallen. I've got Thorn Namshiel as a Uriel sleeper agent.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I didn't write that.
I remember you wrote down a note as a potential tinfoil. I didn't think your note was going to be quite this shit.
I've got tinfoil, Nemesis Uriel, so I obviously, past me, had far greater faith in my memory than they should have. I think we can't award it because we don't remember.
We don't remember. We should have probably done our homework.
Should have done, but you've been out all day, and I only looked at my notes of last time.
Yeah, but it's almost like we had a week.
It's almost like we have a week between recordings.
At least a week.
And 2 weeks between putting episodes up, so we should be better at
this.
Our organisation in general.
But you know what? I'm going to make an executive decision and say I didn't say anything stupid last week. Or 2 weeks ago.
I think because there is absolutely no way whatsoever we could go back and check. I think we just have to accept
absolutely
that's
no
true.
Way. It's actually impossible.
I'll put a line through that. That was a waste of ink.
So yeah, Uriel's infected. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
I think today we agreed we were going to piggyback off yet another Reddit post. So much of our topics at the moment seem to be coming from Reddit, but it's a goldmine of stupid opinions. So
see, I'd say we're out of ideas, but actually our ideas list is still really long.
It is. We just keep seeing stuff. We're like, oh, we should talk about that.
So Reddit is better than us, is essentially what we're saying. We have ideas, they're just not as good as Reddit.
I think the thing is, right, so there's a couple of things at work. Firstly, most of the ideas on our idea list are timeless. Right, we can talk about most of those things at any point.
They're just that good.
Well, you know, they're not subject to the whims of the zeitgeist. They will stand forever as pillars in the sand. But
oh god, you're in an eloquent mood today, are you?
It's actually a reference to the Ozymandias pair of legs standing in the desert. Never mind.
Makes sense. Yeah, I didn't think you had it in you to be that.
I'm not
eloquent.
I don't. But no, every now and then, one of us comes across a post on Reddit, and we think, actually, while this is fresh in our minds, it's worth talking about. Whether that's because it's something modern, like when we recently spoke about Baldur's Gate 3, or just this is interesting and we want to chat about it. This time...
Sorry, to complete tangent. Have you played any more Baldur's Gate 3 since we streamed once, like a month ago?
Yeah.
You played a bit more? Okay, yeah, good. You still enjoying it?
I've made it all the way to the Druids.
Wow, all of like 2 hours in, huh?
Yeah.
I'd love to say we could stream more of that, but
you're so far ahead.
Your schedule's so unreliable. I've gone back and started some new campaigns with other people.
My schedule is so unreliable.
One day we will revisit your paladin who turned out to be a fighter.
Yeah, we also need to go back to Alien Isolation, because I keep getting messages from Richard saying, can you go back to Alien Isolation, please?
One day soon, folks. One day soon. in the next 18 years. Probably.
Maybe. I don't want to be held to that.
I'm holding you to that.
I do enjoy Baldur's Gate 3. I think after the hype, it might be good. Like, I think it's solidly good. And I don't know how much more than that it is. But that's for another time.
On 2 hours of gameplay?
On 2 hours of gameplay, yeah.
It's really good. It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
You've played more, so I'll have to take that. That's true. Better than Starfield, at least.
Having played none of that, yes. Definitively, 100% yes. Starfield looks really garbage.
It's so garbage.
I don't know how they've managed it.
I've seen someone describe it as a poor man's No Man's Sky. Which is damning on so many levels. Because it's also more expensive than No Man's Sky.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Let's just not go. We can have an episode on Starfield.
As long as I don't have to play it.
We'll do a red hot review Starfield, and none of us has played it.
I like that. I like that a lot. Just a 20-minute burning segment. That'd be good, actually.
That would be good. We should do it. Well, I guess we spoiled it now. We should do those kind of reviews, and then people will have to guess if we've actually played the game or not. That could be a nice series.
That would be good. So I was writing that down. Red Hot Review Starfield.
Yes, we're not talking about Starfield or Baldur's Gate.
No, we're not. Instead we're talking about A Song of Ice and Fire. So we've been here before. I think we have, in some ways, quite similar opinions on A Song of Ice and Fire. But this might be where the gaps between us start to appear. So
we have the same opinions. Do you think that?
Relatively.
I guess, aside from Edmure Tully being the protagonist or Bran Stark being the protagonist, yes, we share roughly similar viewpoints.
I never said Edmure Tully was the protagonist.
I feel like you said that in your hot take, didn't you?
No, I said he was a true paragon, the greatest exemplar of knightly
You said
virtue.
that, but I also feel like there was mention of him being a protagonist.
There probably was. I went off on one. But no, we're going to have a discussion. We've got a long list of characters here, and we're trying to get to the single most stupid decision made by a character in A Song of Ice and Fire. Specifically the books. I think we can look to the show for the later examples if we need them, but anything that happened in the show is not canon until it appears on paper, so we're going to have to take all that with a pinch of salt, I think.
This is often the issue I have, though, when we discuss the books, is that I sometimes forget where they deviate. Because the TV show has left such a lingering impression of stupidity in my mind that I sometimes forget that the books are actually quite decent.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair, and I think my memory of the books is slightly better than yours. I've probably read them more recently.
Your memory's better in general for this sort of stuff.
It frustratingly is. It's crap for useful stuff, but this stuff sticks like tar.
Yeah, some of us have to remember important things. It's true.
Yeah.
But I guess...
that's the benefit of my job. I can just look it up every time.
Exactly. Well, I can just make it up. But I guess the most stupid thing was George R. R. Martin trusting the HBO process.
Is it?
Well, I mean...
or was it HBO trusting George R. R. Martin to finish the series before they got there?
Well, I think it was both of them trusting D&D to actually be competent.
Yeah, that's probably right.
I feel it would have helped Martin out because it must have increased the popularity of his work a billionfold, and HBO made a lot of money off of it. It's just that then Benioff and Weiss ruined it. So,
to use my favourite phrase, shat the bed.
They really shat the bed. I mean, those sheets are unsalvageable.
Ruined. Absolutely unsalvageable.
Throw away the mattress. Maybe even the bed frame, actually. That's how bad it is.
Just burn the house
just
down.
Move. Yeah.
Just don't burn the house down. Just move. I like that.
Yeah, well, I'm an arsehole and you're not, clearly.
How do you want to do this? Where do you want to start? Do you want to try and go...
So we're talking about who's done the most stupid thing, right?
But I think in order to work out who's done the most stupid thing, we sort of have to analyse what's the most stupid thing that most of the characters have done.
Yeah, it's a bit like a sort of...
Is that fair?
It's an NCAA bracket type thing, right? As in... Go character by character. What's the most stupid thing they've done, and then pitch them against each other.
What the hell is an NCAA bracket?
Sorry, it's college basketball in the United States. I don't know why that was my first go-to example.
An unimaginably deep cut, but okay.
Sorry, it's the knockout stages of the Rugby World Cup. How about that? Commiserations, by the way, for Scotland's glorious loss to South Africa.
Hey, I think it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, it could have been, yeah. No, they did well.
Yeah, I'm really going to enjoy Scotland not getting out of the group stages.
I'm also enjoying that people listening to this. This will be like 6 weeks in the past.
Yeah, Scotland will be out by the time
they'll have won the World Cup by then. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be good.
Okay, so character by character makes sense. Do you have some sort of order in mind?
I've written down a load of names in no particular order. Right,
I mean, my go-to is going to be Lollis Stokeworth.
Yeah, actually, she's not actually on my list, but she is now, as is Felice Stokeworth and her husband.
She does do something stupid. I seem to remember that, but I can't remember what it is.
So we'll do this first. Felice Stokeworth convinces her husband, Lord Stokeworth, to challenge Bronn to a joust.
In the yeah. That's stupid.
And I may need to drop out.
Oh no.
She may have woken up. Give it a minute.
Hold your breath, folks.
Sorry about that. It looked like the baby was waking up, but she appears not to be, which is good.
She was like, not the Stokeworths. Come on.
Yeah. Come on, Dad. Felice Stokeworth's husband challenging Bronn to a joust, which he then loses, is killed, and Bronn then marries Felice Stokeworth and becomes himself Lord Stokeworth, adopting Felice's unborn child. That's pretty... that's got to be actually quite high on there.
But someone argued that Felice actually did well out of that.
She ends up in Qyburn's dungeon, and the last we hear of her is Qyburn saying, I fear Lady Stokeworth is no longer capable of feeding herself, or indeed anything.
Oh shit, yeah. Okay, so, well, I mean, yeah.
Don't think it turns out that well.
But how's Bronn such a shit husband? How did he let that happen?
No, it's a punishment for not killing Bronn. So Cersei told Felice and Lord Stokeworth to kill Bronn. I don't remember why. I think just to deprive Tyrion of his services. And it backfires terribly, so that's a punishment for failing Cersei.
Fair.
So that's actually quite high.
Fair.
Felice Stokeworth, she's quite
it's pretty
high.
Stupid. I think, not to give the game away at the beginning, which is very unlike us, actually, but it turns out, when we were planning this episode and discussing this casually, everyone's kind of a moron.
There's a lot of dumb shit.
Like, seriously, a lot of the characters do some really dumb things.
Yeah, it's really, really bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, but let's not start the Stokeworths. Where do you want to start?
I think we've started and finished with the Stokeworths. I quite want to go to Ned first, because that's probably one of the earliest monumental cock-ups in the book.
It doesn't cock up a single thing. He walks into a raven and is now going to live forever. Okay,
assuming that he hasn't warged into a raven that's
immortal
across a continent. Ned telling Cersei that he knows about the twincest often comes up as a really, really stupid thing, doesn't it?
Reddit loved that, and rightly so. It is a really stupid thing.
I find it very difficult.
Go on.
Because, it's the reaction to it is so consequentialist. Right, it's a bad action because it fails, and it doesn't, I think, take into account what Ned was trying to achieve, which was avoiding the murder of children.
Yeah,
because Robert, if he'd found out, would have killed those children.
Yeah,
he just would have done.
But I think the combination of Ned telling Cersei that and then interacting with Littlefinger in the way he did, that combined is hella stupid.
What I think Ned should have done
is tell Robert to fuck off. I'm staying in the north.
Well, that's an option, certainly. But I think what Ned should have done is summoned Stannis. Bring Stannis to King's Landing.
Ooh.
And I know, because I don't like Stannis, but...
What? You're a massive Stannis fan.
I hate Stannis. You not heard one of my Stannis' incel rants?
Yeah. You're a Stancel.
Stancel. No,
Stannis the Manis. That's been you this entire time I've known you.
I hate this. This is so not true. You're just making shit up. But my point is, if he summons Stannis and finds out from once Stannis is close, he then tells Cersei that he knows and Stannis is coming. Because Stannis, when he turns up, reinforces Ned, basically.
You essentially don't...
You don't play your hand until it's won.
Yeah, you don't do anything that Ned does until Stannis is there, or has been informed.
I think... But there's so much of what Ned does. I think Ned is really quite naive in the books. Almost criminally so, but his naivete is not trying to avoid the murder of children. I think that his behaviour at that point and his aims at that point, I think, are too noble and too laudable to really castigate him for. What I do think you can castigate him for is his entire failure to understand the political and indeed military power that he wields in King's Landing as Hand of the King.
Yeah. I don't know if I would call it naivete.
I think it is naivete. I think
it is, but it's brought about by just him being raised as a proper man, as in you talk about the nobility and sort of his search for righteousness and justice. But and the problem, he just sees, I think, everyone in King's Landing without realizing that they're utter scum. Which is a great way of viewing life, but it gets him killed.
It is, and it does, ultimately. But I think the problem is, there are so many acts that Ned takes. So when Ned goes to Littlefinger and says, I need you to help me, or Littlefinger comes to him and says, I can put the swords, the gold cloaks in your hand, Ned shouldn't need to do that, because he should have, 500 men-at-arms garrisoned in the city, loyal to him and only him. That's his prerogative as Hand of the King. Yeah. He doesn't need the gold
It's prerogative as Hand of the King and as close friend to the King, where you're like, mate, I'm going to bring 500 of my Northmen with me because I know they're loyal to a fault.
It's what Cregan Stark does at the end of the Dance of the Dragons. He just basically rides on King's Landing with 2,000 angry Northmen. Yeah. And
you put them behind the walls, and what are you gonna
do? I'm in charge now. I'm going to sort this out for 3 days. You will make me Hand of the King for 3 days. I'm going to sort all this shit out, and then I'm going back up north. Yeah. Because he turned up with an army at the end of a civil war, everyone goes, yeah, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Guess you're in charge now, mate.
And this is, I think, what Ned doesn't see is that Robert would have been 100% okay with that, because he knows the Northmen. He respects the Northmen. If Ned just goes down and says, I'll be Hand of the King, like my forefather before me, I'm going to just sort this shit out.
Yeah.
And then we'll be on our merry way.
Fire everyone on the small council.
Oh, 100%. Every single... Well, except Varys, maybe. But...
Except, I think probably you have to keep Barristan. And you probably can keep Renly.
No, Varys. Sorry, not Barristan. Because Varys will just make his way back onto it anyway. But.
Yeah, potentially, but Ned just doesn't appreciate the position that he's in, I think. Or if he does, he doesn't recognise what that enables him to do. So you've got things like, I can't remember if this is show only, but when he wants to speak to Hugh of the Vale, and he sends Jory Castle, and Jory Castle comes back and says, he won't talk to me because he's a knight, you see. Ned's response there is to send 20 guards plus Jory Castle with his sigil that says the hand of the king is summoned. You get in his fucking study now. I don't care if you're meant to be in a tournament.
Yeah.
When Ned turns up in King's Landing and is met by someone who's like, oh, the small council's meeting, the first thing Ned should do is walk into that room and say, you don't meet without me. I'm not here and the king's not here, so this meeting is not quorate, and I'm worried that you're all traitors now. What are you doing? He doesn't do these things. He doesn't seize the opportunities in front of him.
Yeah.
To your point, because he's essentially too noble.
Yeah.
But that constantly puts him at a disadvantage.
Absolutely. He's used to the northern way of doing things like the way that he'd like the North to be run. I mean, Bolton's aside.
Yes, because Ned isn't actually massively like that.
Yeah.
Ned is. The North isn't. The North is much more political, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Ned gives it credit for.
But they all respect the Starks, which is why it works, I think.
Yes.
But you're absolutely right.
True.
His first action in King's Landing is just to walk into the small council room, unsheath ice, and be like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm. This is a merry band of conspirators.
Yeah. Right, on the headsman's block you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ned...
it doesn't feel that bad, though.
Yeah, and for me it doesn't feel that bad because I think it's... Ned just embodies the way we would all like to be. And I just can't fault him for being like that when he's not the problem, everyone else is the problem. His actions are stupid in the context of everyone else being an absolute cunt. And that's as bluntly as I can say that.
Yeah, I think we're allowed one of those an episode.
We're explicit anyway, it's fine.
That's true. I think... you've not said anything I disagree with. I think that's completely true. Everything about it is completely true. It's very hard to blame Ned for the fact that everyone around him is so irredeemably awful.
Yeah.
And so much worse than he possibly could think that they were. And, let's not forget, Cat told him to trust Littlefinger.
Yes, that doesn't help. Right, so Cat then, shall we move on to her?
Oh, I was hoping we could do Cat later because I find Cat so difficult.
Okay, well, should we keep it in the Stark family then, or
let's do Cat next?
We'll briefly mention Robert just being all around shit as a king, and
I don't think he's stupid though.
Yeah,
I think
he doesn't care.
The most stupid thing that Robert does is take the crown. I think everything after that.
I don't even know if that's true. I think because his entire story is set up around the love of his life being killed, and I think anything he does after that, well, after the war, he wins the war, which is all he wants to do. Anything after that is icing on the cake as far as he's concerned. I just don't think he cares. He managed to live a life of debauchery for many years on the crown's coin, and then died doing a hunt. So I think he would look back on that and say, yeah, that's all right. I don't mind.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. My note for Robert is not being properly involved in the running of his kingdom, which allows everything else that happens. But
I mean, that would objectively have been the right thing to do, but I don't think he cares.
But he doesn't care. Yeah. I don't think it's stupidity. I think Robert knows he's doing that.
Yeah. That's why he wants Ned to come down. That's why he let John Arryn do so much of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to run my kingdom while I, eat, drink, and whore my way into an early grave.
Absolutely. Which he does, so well played.
Which he does, so...
Tyrion should respect him in many ways.
In a way, he knew what he wanted.
Yeah. So yeah, Robert, I think we can safely say is not the most stupid on the list.
No, I don't think there's so much more on this list. Or Ned. Cat. So I've got 2 moments for Cat, but I'm going to add a third, which is the Littlefinger, basically.
That's pretty bad.
It's the same mistake.
She gets her husband killed. Yeah.
She also kidnaps Tyrion at the Inn of the Crossroads.
Yep.
Which starts the War of the Five Kings.
Yeah.
And she releases Jaime from prison, which directly leads to the Red Wedding.
Yeah. Yeah, all terrible things. And she also trusts her sister, who she knows is an absolute loon.
Yeah. And she trusts Lysa. Like, Cat's got to be in with a shout, doesn't she?
Does Cat make any good decisions? No. Actually, no.
Quite. She abandons Rob in Winterfell to take the message to Ned about the cat's paw's dagger at a time when Rob really needs his mum because he's only like 14.
Yeah,
he's apparently Lord of Winterfell.
And his dad's also gone. So it's like, someone, please.
Just send Roderick Cassel on his own. Like, Ned would believe that message from Roderick Castle. You don't need Cat to deliver it.
That's the thing with Ned's caught, right? You can send literally anyone and Ned would have believed it.
Yeah.
And they would have all delivered the message as intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Theon,
Ned has I think Theon would have
even
done.
At that point, I think he would have. Yeah.
At that point, Theon would have done.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Ned has cultivated such a reputation of solidity and honour that he surrounded himself with genuinely good people.
Absolutely. Well, that and if you don't honour his code, he will hit your head off himself.
Yeah. He has absolutely no qualms about just executing people who dishonour him.
Yeah. So Cat, that's 3 strikes for no runs.
She is good to Brienne, I guess, and she gives John fairly sage counsel. Not John. She gives Rob fairly sage.
She does not give John sage counsel at all.
No, she's also an abusive stepmother to John, but
she gives Rob some sage advice. Yes,
she gives Rob sage advice,
but she gives Ned such terrible advice, and then she makes all these terrible decisions.
And I think her redeeming characteristic of everything she's doing, she's trying to do for her family, sort of falls apart when you realise that it doesn't feel like it's for her family. It feels too random. Like Ned, you can see this straight line through him of what he's trying to achieve with everything that he does. And Cat just doesn't seem to have that in the same way.
I guess the only redeeming feature for Cat, or I guess the mitigating circumstance, is Bran's condition.
Yeah.
And her daughters being taken to King's Landing.
Yeah.
So mitigating circumstances, but still really stupid.
Yeah. I think it's quite hard to redeem Cat. But, I mean, there's a lot more on this list.
She gets killed as a result of her own stupidity in the Red Wedding. Sure, she comes back and exacts vengeance, I guess.
I like that, vengeance.
Question mark?
Maybe? Question mark. But yeah.
Yeah, just stupid things. But I don't know. I don't want to commit and say that she tops the list because I feel like
I know. I think there are other people who are worse.
A saving grace might be that she gets killed off quite early. Actually.
Yes, comparatively so.
Yeah, which might be a running theme throughout this this episode.
Should we tick off all of the Starks then? So I've still got Rob, Sansa, Arya, and Jon on my list.
Okay, Rob stuck his
Jane
decoration.
Westerling.
Yeah,
I have some sympathy for Rob. The conversation that you and I had before we came a couple of days ago, in fact, it was sort of the circumstances around Rob.
Oh yes,
sticking his dick where he shouldn't, as you so kindly put it. But at the end of the day, like he marries Jane Westerling because he doesn't want the risk of raising a bastard like Jon. But then we see from flashbacks to Winterfell that Jon's life at Winterfell was fine. Like, other than Cat being horrible to him, like, he wasn't mistreated, and he's gone off to a place of honour at the Watch. So it's a bit, his reaction is very 15-year-old boy, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. But you did make the other point, and I guess we have to put some sort of sensitivity warning, trigger warning.
He was pretty much not quite forced into it, but the situation was taken almost beyond his control.
Yeah.
by Jane Westerling's mother.
Exactly. I think there's some very dubious, untoward behavior there on her part. And when you look at it from that point of view, he does sort of do the noble thing, which is a weird change actually from the TV show. I know it's not what we were talking about, but it's a weird change because he does it very willingly and voluntarily there. But yeah, in the books it is a very...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talisa for Jane Westerling is bad in the TV show.
Well,
yeah.
It makes the Red Wedding kind of more... Yeah. Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad. So yeah, I think Rob... it's hard to really blame him for any of this because he doesn't make...
He makes the right decision once, and it comes back to bite him purely because of who he makes the decision against, essentially.
Exactly.
Does that to any other of his bannermen, and their reaction is, I'm really angry with you. I can't believe you did this. Rickard Karstark style.
Yeah.
And then Jon has to have a word. Rob, I keep doing that. Rob has to have a word with him and maybe chop a head off or two. But, like, it is what it is.
But not even necessarily that. Like, I think he knows that he fucked up. I think he's honourable enough to sort of say that.
Yeah, he owns his mistake.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as you said before, like he's like 15 years old at most.
That's, I think, a real problem with the show as well. So when you picture Rob Stark, you're picturing Richard Madden.
Yeah, who's like a 50-year-old
our
man.
age.
Sorry. Yeah, he's like 30.
He's effectively our age rather than sort of barely pubescent Rob Stark.
You have to sort of picture Rob, but as Bran in the early seasons.
That's exactly, I think, what you should do when you think of Rob. You should actually be thinking of Bran for age, at least.
But that's true of a lot of characters in the books, which they're all a lot younger than they really ought to be. But I find it hard to blame Rob for essentially being noble and getting screwed as a result, because the person he made a deal with that he broke is just scum.
It's an insane level of overreaction, a completely unforeseeable level of overreaction from Walder Frey.
So yeah, I think Rob can be excused, and I think if we're going forward with the rest of the Starks, I think the age argument will very much apply to all of them because they're all younger than Rob.
That's the argument for Sansa going to Cersei, and it's the argument for Arya not naming Joffrey, Tywin, Cersei. Sansa is young, she doesn't understand, she cannot envisage a situation in which Cersei would... Like, telling Cersei that her father means to take her away from court leads to Ned's death because her brain doesn't work like that. And
there's so many things going on in her mind. Like, she's very excited to be in King's Landing, potentially marrying the prince. It's all she's ever wanted. It's just a complete clusterfuck.
Yeah, and she's like 12.
Exactly. And I think it's hard to tell because I guess she's not done anything yet in the books, but the way her story arc progresses in the TV show is actually quite good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say that she's made any major fuck-ups other than being really young in a stressful time, but,
Being young and naive and out of your depth.
Yeah.
And much like Ned, thinking that people are dealing in good faith.
Exactly. Which, if anything, is Ned's fault.
If anything, is Ned's fault.
And Arya, I think, even younger, and doesn't really make any mistakes.
6 or 8. The only mistake is Jack and Hagar gives her 3 names, and she names 3 nobodies, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a mistake because, like, she's 8 and she's terrified, and they're the 3 biggest threats looming in her immediate existence.
If I'd argue almost the opposite, actually. I think it's definitely not a mistake because she takes out her immediate threats. Because what are you envisioning? That she says Tywin, Cersei, Joffrey,
the Mountain,
but like that would cause such a calamity across Westeros, I think.
No, I agree with you. It's just a oft repeated criticism that I have seen I don't think it's a real fair criticism.
No,
at all.
Imagine the power vacuum. It would have, if anything, incensed the war even more.
I think so, but not only that. Like she's not capable of making that level of deduction.
No, especially,
and it's not fair to expect it of her.
No, and she would have started with Tywin as well, which means Tywin would have been dead before Cersei or Joffrey would have been dead, and that would have been disastrous. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So no, I think Arya actually has been a pretty smooth operator throughout, even though she's 8.
I think so. I think she's done about as well as you can expect of her.
Yeah. I don't think there's any point really talking about Rickon.
No. Or Bran, really.
Bran. Bran. Yeah, I don't think Bran does anything particularly stupid.
Doesn't really.
He just sort of goes with the flow for a lot of it. Yeah.
But like right at the very start, but again, he's 9, so...
And I was like, what are the odds?
He does. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. Your mother tells you don't climb up the things because you might fall. Sure, if he then climbs up and falls, that's pretty stupid. But he trusts his ability and gets pushed. So.
Yeah, no one's expecting him to come across the Queen and her brother... doing the nasty at the top of the Great Tower.
If you had to put bets on of likely things to see, I think that would be pretty far down the list.
Yeah.
So that's all the Stark. Do you want to talk about Benjen? Not a Stark, but yeah.
I don't really, not really done anything stupid, has he?
No, I don't think so.
The problem is we don't know enough about what's happened to Benjen north of the Wall. We've not met him again, so he's probably done some stupid stuff in his time.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Ned's father and brother going to King's Landing was pretty stupid.
Yeah, that's
technically before A Song of Ice and Fire, I suppose.
I'm gonna rely on that, certainly.
And also driven by nobility. Starks, man, so fucking noble.
Well, I mean, Brandon marches into the throne room of the Red Keep and demands Rhaegar's head, which isn't the smartest thing to do when your king is Aerys II. But
yeah, again, as you say, like it's not a smart thing to do if you're not backing it up with 20,000 men.
Yeah, you don't ride in with 6 blokes.
Yeah. I'm going to take your head now. Are you though? I don't know.
Don't think this one's going to go the way you want, Brandon.
So yeah, needlessly stupid. Jon, yes, Jon is important.
Jon, I think, might be quite a strong contender.
What does Jon do that's stupid?
He lets the wildlings through the wall. Well, basically, everything that culminates in him being executed by the mutineers of the Night's Watch. So he lets the wildlings through the wall. He doesn't do something that he should do. He proposes to take men of the Night's Watch and wildlings to Winterfell to slay Ramsay after receiving the pink letter. He sends Tormund to Hardhome. Like, he just forgets that he's a Night's Watchman and becomes a leader of men. And the problem is he fails to remember that he is a member of the Night's Watch, which is an institution that is not what he thinks it is. So it's essentially naivete again.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Jon's issue is that, remarkably, I mean, we often talk about how he dresses and not using his words to mix media here.
Yeah.
But Jon is like the opposite. I think he always voices exactly his logic and his thinking and then acts because he's like, well, I've said my bit, so I'm obviously now going to do it because it's the right thing to do. But as you say, he forgets where he is and who he is.
Yes.
But I think everything he does do is correct. It's hard to fault him for that. I mean, it gets him killed, which is obviously stupid.
I don't know. I think everything up to announcing his intent to march on Winterfell is you can probably excuse. And if he doesn't do that last one, he's probably got a load of disgruntled Night's Watchmen that he has to deal with at some point. But he just openly and brazenly announces an intention to break his sacred vow, from which he has not been released.
Yeah.
And for which the penalty is just death. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah. But it's at the same time as like him actually training his fellow recruits and making them better soldiers and getting their trust. And it's sort of that, like, if I don't do it, no one will, and everyone will suffer as a result. So I'm just going to do what I think is right. And like, people can challenge me, but I've got sort of the people's mandate because a lot of people are backing me. That's sort of Jon's thing, right?
I think you're right, but the problem is, what if everyone takes that approach? Now, as you say, it's fine because Jon is right, but what if every member of the Night's Watch decided that they were going to get involved in the Wars of Kings?
No, of course, but that's the sort of same problem as, you know, any peasant can ultimately try that, but they're going to have a hard time. Like, he is ultimately Lord Snow, right? He is Ned Stark's bastard son. That carries weight.
No, he's not. He's not. He's the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. It's an political position.
But even earlier, when he is just Jon Snow, but he is Ned Stark's son, and that carries weight, right? No one's going to listen to, you know, the rapist from King's Landing who's come up north and says, "Oh, I think you should swing your sword this way," right? But this noble guy who signs up voluntarily like that.
But I don't have a problem with him training Sam and Gren and Pip and all of that. But that's fine, because apparently Alistair Thorne is not doing that. But when he is made Lord Commander, it is a necessary component of the Night's Watch existing that it be apolitical, because the moment it becomes a political entity that gets involved in any southern conflict whatsoever, it becomes a political football that the Southern Lords, including the Starks, can play with.
Yeah.
And Jon puts that at risk for his own conflict.
Yeah.
Now, we know that Ramsay is a monster, and so Jon taking a force to burn him out of Winterfell is the quote-unquote right thing to do. But
but he does that. He does that after he's been killed. That doesn't even happen in the books, does it?
No, he's murdered after he announces in the Hall of Shields his intent to take a force south and kill Ramsay.
Yeah, he does.
That announcement is the problem, because yes, after he's killed, he can do what he likes because he's released from his oath. It's a brilliant technicality written into the oath. Because who's expecting a dead man to come back to life and not be a white? But until that happens, Jon is bound by his oath to the Night's Watch and to the old gods, and those oaths need to be binding. People need to be able to place reliance on those oaths, or the whole structure falls apart.
No, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm not convinced that that's stupid.
I don't think it's stupid to the level of Cat, even, or where we're going to end up, you know, with the Cerseis, the Dannys, the Balons, the Oberons, not Oberons, Dorans.
We've got 15 minutes to get through all those people, you realise?
Yeah, I know. I've just realised that. Right, I've got a few more names written down. Can we agree that what Jon does is stupid and dangerous, but it's not catastrophic in the way that some of the other ones are?
I think the stupidity is that he misjudges the people he commands.
I think it's more than that. I think, again, it's youth and naivete, and he doesn't think through the political consequences of his actions.
It's a Nedism
on the broad scale. It's a Nedism.
Right.
It is a Nedism.
Like, I'm the Lord Commander, therefore you will
see problem, do right thing.
Exactly. So
consequences be damned, because I'll fix them later.
Like, it's not the best move, but I wouldn't say it's the stupidest thing to have tried, especially given his age. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He's like 16.
Yeah. Okay, so The Starks, I guess,
right.
are reprieved. Well, Catelyn maybe not, but
yeah, I think that's probably fair. Who I've got a load of names left that we're probably not going to be able to touch. Theon is
we're either
pretty
going to end up doing
stupid.
another two-parter, or we
Theon
have to
is
really
pretty
get
stupid for
restricted to
picking.
big names.
Yeah,
POV names.
Theon is pretty stupid for picking Balon over Robb. I think he chooses a way of life and a family that clearly has no respect for him and for which he has no respect.
Yeah, and the worst thing with Theon is that I don't really get the motivation. Honestly,
everyone wants to hear their parents say that they're proud of them. That's all it is. It's that simple.
You know what? I think we might have to just exclude the children, which I know rules out Joffrey, who does some spectacularly stupid stuff. But he's not only a child; he's also just a sociopath.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we can deal with Joffrey because his problem is mental illness.
Yeah, exactly. We need full on psychiatric experts to touch that.
Full on just not being human. Okay, I want to have a word about Dany, but it's also, I think, stretches to the people around her, but also it's probably only really show only.
And Dany also young.
And also young. Yeah.
And brought up in the most fucked up environment. But she does make some pretty key decisions, I guess, so worth discussing.
I think I'll leave... No, I was going to say, what I think I'll do is I'll leave Dany for a Discord post. Because I think it's quite...
Yeah.
I'll put my thoughts on Dany on Discord.
Come join the Discord if you want to know the answer. But also, I think we should do a Dany-centric episode at one point, right? Because we've previously talked about her sort of Mad Queen arc in the show, and we don't necessarily, I think, agree. So I think we should have a Dany episode at some point and talk about all her decisions.
Let's do that. That's a good one. Theon. Right, I've got Cersei Lannister, the collective that is the Martells, Jeor Mormont, Renly Baratheon, Roderick Castle. Really the ones that I've got left.
Right, let's talk about Roderick. I mean, what the fuck? His one job is to secure Winterfell, and he leaves it with like 5 dudes and a carrot.
Yeah. And at some point, Maester Luwin apparently goes, "Oh, I hope this decision doesn't come back to bite us in the arse." I think right before someone rams a spear through his arse.
It's just, yeah. Yeah, Roderick Cassell actually has a shout for like the single most stupid action that also just can't be explained. It's so dumb.
I've heard it described once as almost the visible hand of the author pulling the scales down to tip them against the Starks.
Yeah. It's like ooh, it's what could destabilize them? What if they lost Winterfell? They're like keep that's almost impossible to take.
Cannot be taken. Well, how do they do that? Because Roderick Cassell's a smart man. Well, what if he wasn't, just for a minute?
Yeah, what if he just had a really solid evening of boozing and then is like, "Men, let's all go."
Yeah, it's so stupid.
It is really stupid and also really out of character, so that is up there.
I think that's the thing. This is a man who is master of arms at Winterfell. He's a knighted northerner, which doesn't happen. He's essentially Ned's number 2, as far as we can tell, and he just
has incredible facial hair.
He does have incredible facial hair. Yeah.
In with a shout, like a weird outside, sort of outside odds. I think.
Yeah, I think if you'd put him on the list around Cersei and the rest of them, yeah,
it's because he makes one fuck up that is so instrumental.
Makes one decision. He only makes one decision, and it's the worst decision he could possibly make.
Honestly, I think we could end it there. I'm not sure we're going to top Roderick as just.
I don't know. I think I could make a shout for Balon Greyjoy.
Right, let's talk about Balon Greyjoy. Reddit had a lot of things to say about Balon Greyjoy.
So Balon Greyjoy is the man who waits until Robert Baratheon wins his war and secures his crown and the loyalty of his kingdom, and then goes with no allies whatsoever. You know what? I think my 6 islands and 250 blokes don't actually need the other 6 kingdoms, so I'm going to raise my banners in rebellion against a king who is famous for doing nothing other than winning wars against insurmountable odds.
Now,
he's a moron.
Now, in defense, for some reason, the other 6 kings saw fit to include the Iron Islands as part of the 7 kingdoms. That's a comical mistake. Wipe them the fuck out. The islands are useless. The Iron Islanders are all bloody useless. The Drowned God is useless. Just get rid of them. They're just a nuisance. You know by keeping them in the 7 kingdoms that sooner or later the reach is going to be bloody targeted. Like, what the hell?
There are no... If you read Fire and Blood, or if you go into the world of Ice and Fire, there are no redeeming characteristics for the Iron Islanders at all.
It's the perfect, like, let's just get rid of it. If we could sink the islands, we would.
They're always, whenever there's a conflict, the footnote is always, and also the Iron Islanders were annoying.
Exactly. It's like they tried to switch sides, but somehow it didn't do anything.
Yeah. And then, after Balon Greyjoy has his ass cheeks well and truly clapped by Robert Baratheon, lost 2 of his sons and his third to hostagery, Robb Stark sends Theon Greyjoy as an emissary to basically go, do you fancy a scrap? If you help me, I will support your contention to an independent Iron Islands. Do you know what? The reason that he lost last time was he didn't have any fucking allies. Yep. That's the North, the largest kingdom in the 7 kingdoms. Arguably the most martial of the kingdoms in the 7 kingdoms. That's in the process of absolutely spanking 3 of the other 6.
Yep.
Going, I'll help you out. And he goes, no, you know what we'll do is we'll go and raid the Stony Shore.
Yep. No, this is the thing. Balon Greyjoy definitively makes nothing but catastrophically, heinously dumb decisions. But because he's an Iron Islander, I just can't take it seriously. It just doesn't matter.
It's very, of course you do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like...
Every time you read what he's up to, you're like, yeah, of course he's done something like that.
It's like, oh, Cersei's given the fleet away to some random. Haha, well, I can top that. Yeah, but you're the Iron Island, so we don't give a shit. That's all that... That's like the comic relief that just never quite lands.
Yeah.
So yeah, Balon, Reddit, you're absolutely right. Absolute moron. But who cares, frankly? And I would even extrapolate that to Euron and
you have no time for Euron.
No, Euron's a waste of space, completely wasted paper, really. That's just George R.R. Martin doing his part to aid global warming.
Right.
Yeah, I said it.
No, that's fair. I'll just let that one hang. What do you think about Jeor Mormont? Is that might be a little bit too niche for the 5 minutes we've got left?
Jeor Mormont.
Because the Great Ranging is fucking stupid.
It is, but it ultimately does end up in the whole Jon and the wildlings scenario that we get.
Yeah.
Now that's ultimately pure fluke, I guess, but
I think I've raised him. I think the problem, or the Jeor Mormont thing, is there's a lot of relatively stupid decisions in there, but he also makes some absolutely cracking decisions, like naming Jon as his second in command, essentially, and things like that. So it's quite hard to just go, oh yeah, the Great Ranging was stupid, so that's that. Although it is. I'm not sure I can give you Jon and the Wildlings, because as you say, that's a total fluke. That's not the point of the Great Ranging. The Great Ranging is a complete and catastrophic failure.
Yeah, but we have to look at these things with hindsight as well, right? And so, yeah, his catastrophic decision did ultimately lead to something instrumentally important.
And also, I think saying that the Great Ranging is a catastrophic failure is a bit like blaming Ned for going to Cersei. Like, Gior had no way of knowing that the White Walkers were out there waiting for him.
Well, quite, yeah. Quite.
So
I don't hate that suggestion, but again, I feel the motivation was just, and actually the outcome ended up being, well, if we assume that the books are going to follow the TV show, at least somewhat, the outcome is important. So I know that's a kind of messed up way of arguing, but
yeah, no, it's fair. I think it doesn't rise to the level of Roderick Cassel or Balon Greyjoy as well.
So far, Roderick, I think, is the single most dumb decision that just has no reason, and it just is catastrophic.
All right. Do you want to do the collective of Martells, or do you want to do Cersei Lannister?
The collective of the Martells. Let's talk about the collective of the Martells. What's your argument for them?
So it's sort of, as a group, they're really stupid. So Doran Martell sends Quentyn to Dany with a piece of paper that Dany doesn't know exists that says, you're going to marry Quentyn. And Quentyn's just a bit of a wet blanket. Quentyn doesn't realise that he's a wet blanket and thinks that it's just going to work. And then when it doesn't work, what he decides to do is go and chat to a dragon.
Yeah, no, Quentyn...
which goes precisely as well as you think anyone thinks it was going
Absolutely, no, Quentyn, massive idiot. But Doran sending Quentyn, kind of a shot to nothing. If it works, fantastic. It's worked. You've pulled an absolute blind.
But Quentyn's his heir.
Yeah, but I think Doran knows well enough that Quentyn's, as you said, just the wet blanket. Like, you know,
is Quentyn his heir or is Arianne his heir?
I think Arianne. I think he would like Arianne to be his heir. I think she might be his
actually
heir.
Older. I think Arianne is his heir. Actually, so Quentyn.
Because Arianne tries to do the whole coup, right? So.
Yeah, but at that point, Quentyn. Oh, no, you're right.
They don't know They still don't know that Quentyn's dead, right?
They don't know Quentyn's dead.
That's literally one of the last things that happens in the book, I think.
Oh, so good.
So I think Quentyn, absolute idiot. But Doran, not so much. I think shot to nothing is my assessment of that. Arianne trying to do the whole let's crown.
Let's crown Myrcella.
Yeah.
Getting Darkstar involved. That's
I don't know if that's stupid or just absolutely heroic for the Bants. It's hard to tell.
It is quite Bants. It has, as a friend of mine would say, it has some pretty serious vibes about it.
It does have some serious vibes about it. I don't know what she was really trying to achieve, but I don't hate it.
I think what she's trying to do is crown Myrcella to piss off her dad.
Which is a pretty baller move, and it worked. My goodness, did it work.
Gosh, does it work?
Aris Oakheart got absolutely annihilated because of it.
Yeah, and he's meant to have been one of the good ones, which I quite like.
So in some ways, pretty terrible choice, but I think she's in control of that whole situation throughout.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think the Martells as a whole, not convinced.
I've also got Oberyn down here for the fight with the Mountain. Absolutely fumbling the ball on the touchline. Yeah.
I mean, he was doing so well. You just let emotion get the better of him, and frankly, that's hard to argue against.
You can't argue with his emotional reaction to what was happening.
Given everything that happened to him and his family,
Yeah.
I'd say I get it, but I have no frame of reference in which to get it.
I know what you mean. Which leaves us with Cersei Lannister.
What about Jaime or Tywin or Tyrion?
Tyrion's only got really one stupid move, which is not
really
executing Littlefinger.
Yeah. Well, I guess that means Littlefinger is up for debate at some point.
But Littlefinger, I think, is very stupid and gets away with it.
It's premature at the moment because we don't really know how his story progresses in the books.
The only note I've got for Littlefinger is just being far too obviously evil.
Yeah. He's a Varys wannabe who just doesn't know how to Varys.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas, so that the only stupid thing that I could think of was Tyrion keeping Littlefinger around, really. Or taking Shay to court. But
taking Shay to court's pretty bad.
It is quite bad, but he's essentially a abuse/trauma victim.
That's the thing.
She's essentially his
like
horrible
Tyrion,
turn of phrase. Like she's his coping blanket.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, wow. That's what a thing to say, but you're not wrong. Like Tyrion's just got daddy issues that eclipse most daddy issues.
It's quite hard to hold Tyrion accountable for that side of his actions.
Yeah. And I think ultimately Tyrion, with the stuff he does do, like his positives outweigh that stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Tywin, I think other than just being a dreadful father, I think if he does anything stupid, does he?
The Red Wedding is fundamentally stupid. It just is, but I sort of almost need an hour to go through that.
It is, but only if the Lannisters send their regards is like the thing.
I think everyone involved in the Red Wedding conspiracy is so stupid. Much for the same reason that I think Jon breaking his oath is stupid, and I think almost we need to dedicate an episode to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jon and the Red Wedding. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
fair.
the parallels between
Jaime then?
Jaime
Two Hands Lannister?
Yeah, other than
goading your captors.
Off.
And killing the king, I guess. Not just shagging his sister. He does a lot of stupid things. Stupid.
But it feels like a sort of Robb Stark-esque stupidity, or like quite banal stupidity.
I also feel Jaime, the stupidity is sort of like he does something and he's like, oh, that was just really fucking dumb. And then he tries to make up for it. Yeah. And then he does something else that's stupid. But
yeah.
Okay, so before we get into Cersei then, and we have to cover her in like 5 minutes, any honourable mentions?
Renly Baratheon for raising his banners against his brother rather than just recognising that he's his brother's heir anyway.
Yes. Stannis and just all the weird blood magic shit.
Stannis and being Stannis.
Stannis and being Stannis. Ultimately, yes.
That's sort of all that I've got.
Well, I guess Khal Drogo.
Oh, sorry,
I was going to talk about. And
Khal Drogo trying to style it out. Dany invading Westeros with an army of savages, eunuchs, and WMDs, and then wondering why no one wants to be her friend.
Dany kind of doing anything.
Dany's basic existence. Viserys threatening Khal Drogo with a sword in Vice Dothrak.
Like that is the single most like, oh man, you fucked it.
It is, but I find I pity Viserys Targaryen too much.
Yeah, we couldn't crown him the stupidest, person in all of Westeros because
he's already crowned.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, leave the poor man alone.
Yeah, leave him in his crown of gold.
I'm sure there's many we've missed, and please do let us know
whoever it was that tried to stop Barristan Selmy from leaving the Red Keep.
I mean, anyone on Joffrey's Kingsguard other than Barristan. Total utter tool.
There's the throwaway line where it's like Barristan Selmy cut his way through 10 guards or something. And I'm like, yeah.
Obviously.
You need to get smarter guards.
I guess we didn't cover Rhaegar.
But it predates the... But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered more or less everyone. Do let us know if we've missed anyone obvious. But yeah.
Yeah,
Cersei. Which I guess means we are crowning Cersei. And I don't feel bad in crowning Cersei.
It's hard to crown anyone else, although I like that Roderick Castle might be our runner-up.
Yeah, well, let's talk Cersei, and then we can decide at the end.
Is Cersei too stupid to be stupid? Like, is she...
I wouldn't disagree with you, except that she thinks she's Tywin reborn.
I think that's her big... Tywin with teats is, I think, the best quote from A Song of Ice and Fire. It's so good. And she's so much not.
She's so terrible. Every decision she makes is objectively bad. I guess we should reverse it. She made any good decisions?
So someone pointed this out on Reddit. Taken in microcosm, all of the decisions that she makes sense if you consider only the moment in which she makes them.
Yeah, but like
she's incapable of seeing consequences 5 minutes from now.
Except that she thinks she does. That's her issue, right? She's like, oh, this is such a long-term strategic great move.
She needs the support of the faith, so she rearms the faith and then is shocked when it turns out that means that the faith has weapons and so can arrest her.
Yeah.
And it's just all the stuff like that. She needs a captain for the royal fleet, so she gives it to Orain Waters because he looks like Rhaegar, and then is shocked when he steals all of her ships and goes and becomes a pirate.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, he was a pirate before you gave him the ships.
Yeah. Yeah. All dreadful decisions. Really.
There's no real crowning moment of stupidity, I don't think. Although rearming the Faith Militant is probably it.
And I can't believe I'm going to have to say that I think Roderick Cassel is the most stupid man, or the most stupid character. You're going to
fight for Roderick?
Well, because
his single decision is potentially more catastrophic.
That's the thing, and it comes from a man who's actually competent.
I think that might be the worst thing, isn't it? This is someone who is other than that one decision so obviously good at what he does that there is no excuse for, oh no, he's just like out of his depth, which is Cersei's excuse.
And this is a bit meta, so I do apologize in advance, but we know the resolution of Roderick's decision, and it's terrible. True. Whereas Cersei, she's still alive and kicking and can manipulate things. If we take what happens in the TV show as what's going to happen to her in the books, then by and far away, she's just the most stupid person in the series.
Yeah, but it remains within the bounds of possibility that she is actually playing 4D chess. And we've just not seen the culmination of it.
It's possible. But from someone who coined the phrase "power is power," I mean, thanks. Yes. Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to your the shittest TED talk ever.
I
love how that took the world by storm as well. Oh, power is power. How deep? What do you mean how deep?
You've all failed to understand Varys' riddle, people.
Yeah. No, Cersei, I mean, yeah. I'm sure that once the last page is turned, we can come back.
By Brandon Sanderson.
No, I don't think he would know how to...
He said he won't do it.
Yeah, because he's like, how do you deal with that?
I think what he's actually said is he hasn't been asked, and he cannot envisage a situation where he has enough time to do it, even if he was asked, which he's not expected to be.
He doesn't need time. He could knock out the end of the Song of Ice and Fire in a week.
He just doesn't want to. The man's a devout Mormon who's writing a treatise on tolerance, essentially. He doesn't want to finish a Song of Ice and Fire.
Now, the real debate perhaps to be had is we've previously on this show talked about the Lord Ruler being nothing but a catastrophic moron. Is he worse than Cersei?
Oh, gosh.
Food for thought. But yeah.
Food for thought. I think we have to leave that on that bombshell.
We'll have to leave it on that bombshell. I think you're absolutely right. Do let us know if we've left anyone out.
Or if you want to leap to the defense of Roderick Castle or Cersei, if you want to castigate Ned.
Exactly.
Don't try and defend Balon Greyjoy. It's not possible.
If you really think that Jorah Mormont should have been number one for being a slaver, fair enough. Let us know.
I'm more concerned about Jorah Mormont's rampant paedophilia, but never mind.
Yeah, but he's not the only one in the universe, unfortunately.
No, it's true.
But on those many
it's not
bombshells,
the only slaver either.
Yeah, true.
It's just the juxtaposition of. Anyway, I think we.
No, finish your thought.
Anyway.
You've started it now. You might as well finish.
Well, you sort of said there's in response to my allegation of being into kiddies. Well, there's other people in the books like that, implying that Jorah Mormont's worst trait is he's a slaver because he's the only one in the books who's a slaver. And I know that's not what you meant, but it was the implication of the sentence structure, and it was very, very weird.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's very fair.
Given the existence of Slaver's Bay, but anyway.
Very fair. The only slaver in Westeros, though, because it's legal there, so obviously no one else does it.
Clearly no one else does it, and the Night's Watch is definitely not indentured servitude.
Not at all. So on those many, many, many bombshells, thanks for listening to this episode of Expertise is Overrated. No doubt we've said some things that were either objectively wrong or downright offensive. As ever, feel free to let us know, rate the podcast, leave us a comment, or drop us an email at expertiseisoverrated@gmail.com, tweet us at zeroexpertise, check out our website expertiseisoverrated.podbean.com, or come join us on our Discord server.
If you're lucky, we might just argue with you in one of our upcoming episodes. If you're really lucky, we might call you an idiot. Come back next time for some more absolute nonsense.